If you've ever felt lost, forgotten, or too broken to start again, this story is for you. My name is Claire Morrison. I'm 45 years old, and I live in a small town just outside Asheville, North Carolina, where the mornings smell like pine, and the nights are quiet enough to hear your own heart beating. From the outside, my life looked like a picture-perfect postcard. A white house with blue shutters. A husband who mowed the lawn every Saturday. 2 kids in college. A fridge covered in grocery lists and good report cards. But on the inside, I was disappearing. Not all at once. Slowly. Quietly. Like a song fading out before anyone realizes it's over. I wish I could tell you the exact moment it happened, that one big, dramatic moment where I said, "That's it. I'm done." But the truth? There wasn't one. It happened on a Tuesday. A regular Tuesday. I was stirring my coffee, staring at the beige kitchen wall I had painted 12 years ago. And suddenly, I felt like a guest in my own life. I didn't hate my life. I just couldn't find myself in it anymore. This isn't a story about running away. It's about waking up. And maybe, if you're listening, it might help you wake up too. Because no matter how far you've drifted, it's never too late to start again. I used to love painting. Not landscapes or still life, too quiet. I liked people. Faces. The small tension in a woman's brow, the story behind a pair of tired eyes. When I was younger, I thought maybe I'd be a portrait artist. Or a therapist. Something where I could understand people, where feelings mattered. But somewhere along the way, I traded canvas for calendars. Appointments. Schedules. Meal plans. I told myself I was being practical, responsible. Michael said art was a hobby, not a job. And when someone you love says that enough times, you start to believe it. So I stopped painting. Stopped dreaming. Stopped needing anything too colorful. I became efficient. A quiet helper. A background character in my own home. There were signs, of course. Little emotional leaks. I'd cry during commercials. Feel rage over tiny things, like when Michael corrected the way I folded the towels. But instead of saying anything, I buried it. Deep. Because when you're raised to be grateful, to never cause trouble, you learn to swallow discomfort like pills. One after breakfast, one before dinner, one to help you sleep. Underscore 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 underscore. I journaled sometimes. Not about big things. Just lists, small prayers, fragments. I miss laughing. I'm tired of being careful. If I left, where would I go? But then I'd close the notebook and make dinner. Chicken again. Michael liked chicken. Said red meat made him sluggish. One day I overheard him on the phone, laughing, telling a friend. Claire's the kind of wife every man wants, low maintenance, dependable. I smiled from the hallway. But inside, something cracked. Low maintenance. Like a tire. A lawnmower. Something that works quietly and doesn't ask for much. And I realized, he didn't really see me. He saw what I did for him. What I provided. How little space I took up. That night, I sat in the bathtub until the water turned cold. I didn't cry. I just felt gone. And no one noticed. Underscore 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 underscore. My mother died in October. A cold, sharp morning that sliced the year in half. She had been sick for a while, cancer that moved faster than we expected. She was the only person who ever asked me how I really was. The kind of woman who'd say, "Tell me the truth, even if it's ugly." I remember holding her hand in the hospital, whispering things I hadn't said out loud in years. I think I made a mistake with my life. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm scared I've waited too long. She squeezed my fingers and smiled, tired but knowing. Then start again, she said. You're not dead yet. She passed 2 days later. And I broke. Not just from grief. From everything. Her death peeled back the last layer of pretending. I couldn't go back to the beige kitchen and pretend my life was enough anymore. Michael didn't understand. People die, he said. You need to move on. But I didn't want to move on. I wanted to move out. So I told him. One night, over dinner, lasagna, ironically. I think I need space, I said. He didn't look up from his fork. To do what? To remember who I am. He paused, then laughed. Claire, don't be ridiculous. But I wasn't. For the first time in years, I wasn't ridiculous. I was awake. The next week, I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. Just me, a mattress on the floor, and a box of paints I hadn't opened in 15 years. And then the silence came. The real kind. Not the kind you live inside, but the kind that lives inside you. No husband. No kids. No noise. Just me, and all the feelings I had postponed for decades. I thought leaving him would feel like freedom. And for a moment, it did. The first night in my tiny apartment, I lay on the mattress in the middle of the empty room, surrounded by cardboard boxes, and felt a strange stillness. Not peace, exactly. But a space that belonged to no one but me. I made tea. I sat on the floor. I listened to silence that didn't judge me. And then I cried. Not the soft kind. Not the movie tears running down your face kind. The ugly, raw, choking kind. The kind that comes when you realize no one is coming to save you. My phone didn't ring. My kids were busy with their lives. Michael didn't ask how I was. Some friends vanished when I left him. Others stayed politely distant, as if heartbreak were contagious. Days blurred. I wore the same hoodie. Forgot meals. I watched reruns of shows I didn't care about just to hear voices in the room. I even began talking to myself, out loud. Whispering things like, "You're too old for this. What are you even doing? No one starts over at 45. And the worst one. What if this is all a mistake?" That thought echoed every night. Louder than the fridge. Louder than the heater. Louder than grief. I was free, and terrified. Unseen. Uncertain. Unanchored. This wasn't a triumphant reinvention. This was the messy middle. The painful cocoon between the life I left and the one I hadn't built yet. But even in that darkness, something quiet began to form. It started with a chair. I was walking past a thrift store one gray afternoon, still in the hoodie, still invisible, when I saw it, an old wooden chair with a cracked back and blue velvet cushion, sun-faded and lopsided. I don't know why I stopped. Maybe because it looked like me, worn down, slightly broken, but still holding shape. I bought it for $10. That night, I sat in it by the window. Rain was tapping gently on the glass. For the first time in weeks, I didn't turn on the TV. I just sat. Thought. Listened. And then I picked up a pencil. Not a brush. Not yet. That felt too big, too final. But a pencil. I opened my old sketchbook, the one I hadn't touched in 15 years, and began to draw. Not well. Not smoothly. But something. The lines were shaky. The hands were stiff. But the feeling? Relief. Like finding a language I thought I'd forgotten. Like remembering how to breathe. I sketched late into the night. My hands cramped. My eyes stung. But I didn't stop. And for the first time since my mother died, I didn't feel lost. I felt connected. To her. To myself. To the girl I used to be. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't solve everything. But it was enough to keep going the next day. And the next. And that's how it begins sometimes. Not with a sunrise. But with a chair. A broken chair. In a quiet room. Where you remember, you're still here. They don't tell you how hard starting over really is. Not the big gestures, that's the easy part. Leaving, packing up, announcing your freedom. No, the hard part is the small, daily rebuilding. Making new routines. Facing quiet evenings without someone to blame or please. Learning to be with yourself. I started with mornings. I began waking up early, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I'd make coffee and sit by the window in that same blue chair, sketching whatever came to mind. Faces. Hands. Even that old cracked chair itself. Some mornings I just stared out, watching the street wake up. Then I signed up for a painting class at the local arts center. I almost didn't go, stood outside the door for 10 full minutes. But then a woman walked past me and smiled. She had silver hair, paint on her hands, and said, "You're either early or scared. Both are good signs." Her name was Eleanor. 71, bold lipstick, no filter. She became my first real friend in years. She told me stories about her 3 divorces and the time she took a pottery class just to flirt with the instructor. "Darlin'," she said, "you don't have to be whole to be interesting." I clung to that sentence. With Eleanor's nudging, I entered one of my portraits into a small gallery show. It didn't sell. But when someone paused to look at it for a full 2 minutes, I cried. Because I mattered. Because someone saw me. I started working part-time at a bookstore, quiet, filled with stories, the smell of paper and coffee. People asked about me. They learned my name. They weren't looking for the wife of someone or the mother of someone. Just Claire. And that was enough. 6 months after I left, Michael called. Not angry. Just confused. "I thought you'd come back by now," he said. I smiled, gently. "I know you did." He wanted to meet. We had lunch at a place we used to go when we were young. He wore the same kind of watch. I wore red lipstick, for the first time in 15 years. He looked tired. I looked alive. "I didn't know you were unhappy," he said. And maybe that's true. But it doesn't matter now. Because I finally do. That same week, my daughter came home from college. She stood in my tiny kitchen and said, "Mom, you're different." I braced myself. But then she smiled. "You look happy. You sound like someone I want to become." And just like that, the guilt softened. The fear faded. The past became a story, not a sentence. Some days, I still feel lost. Healing isn't linear. Reinvention isn't glamorous. There are days I miss the comfort of what was, yes, even the old beige kitchen. But then I remember. That comfort cost me my voice. And now I can hear myself again. I'm 46 now. I paint. I write. I laugh loudly. I sit in my blue chair and talk to Eleanor about men, art, and wild dreams. I call my kids and tell them I'm proud, not just of them, but of me too. This isn't the life I thought I'd have. It's better. Because I chose it. And if you're listening, curled up on a couch, holding your breath, wondering if it's too late, let me be the one to tell you. It's not. It's never too late to start again. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it touched you in any way, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, take care and keep believing that it's never too late to begin again.